You know, a lot of times the only thing that is holding people back from getting money for their business idea or moving forward and actually starting is a plan. It's a business plan. Now, business plans can be as complicated or as simple as you want. They can be complex in multiple pages, or they can be just one or two. The choice is up to you. But oftentimes, I like to start with a very, very simple plan. There's 12 questions that I like to ask myself. So in this video, I'm going to teach you what those 12 questions are. I'm going to give you a business plan template for free that you can fill out along with me. And by the end of the video, you're not only going to know how to type out and complete a business plan, but you're going to have one completed. So let's get started. So you finally started your own business. Invest for the long term, and I'll show you exactly how. Be good to future you. This is the PDF that I was talking about. We built it out with examples from one of my companies. My wife and I founded Scorch Marker. It's a wood-burning craft marker. Heat activated, actually. It's really, really interesting, but we wanted to use it as an example for a business plan. And so the examples that you see in these form fields pertains to our company's Scorch Marker. So just to give you a little bit of context. Now, when you download this plan and you click on these boxes, the examples will go away and you won't have to deal with that. I just wanted to leave them there to get your brain moving and so you could understand how I answered these questions. All right, at the very top of this sheet, we're going to start with the name of your business or your idea. Leave it blank, I don't care. The important thing is that we get all of these questions answered. Let's start with the identity. The identity is what makes your company special. Who are you and what do you do? What is your mission statement? Why are you here? Why are you solving problems? Why are you going into business? That is your identity. Okay, now we're at step number 2. We have to address the problem. Every business solves a problem, and you need to figure out what problem it is that you're solving. If you're a solar panel cleaning company, you do the jobs that the homeowner doesn't want to do because it's risky, it's time consuming, and it's dangerous, it requires tools, and it's something that they're not capable of doing. So you come in, you provide the service, and you solve that problem for them. And by solving that problem, the customer gives you money. Right? That's this in its simplest form, of course. But what I want you to focus on is the specific problem that you're solving. Very, very important to get that ironed out because you want one specific problem to focus on. So, for example, in Scorch Marker, you can see that wood burning had a really steep learning curve and you can't wood burn with stencils. There's so many aspects of it that's challenging and has a high barrier to entry. So we wanted to make it easier. That's it. Our goal is to make it easier. Now, let's talk about the solution. The solution is what you provide to the problem. Pretty self-explanatory, right? But I want you to get as specific as possible. It's very important to get super hyper specific here because this is where your business model is going to start to take shape. As you're answering these questions, you're going to be typing these out or writing them down, and you're going to find that it starts to flow. Okay? Refine this down to the problem and then write down the solution that you're using to solve that problem. Next, we're going to talk about our target market. Now, Scorch Marker has a very specific target market. We've done a lot of research and put a lot of effort and energy to designing, this perfect customer avatar. So one of the questions that we asked ourselves is, who is our perfect customer? If we could pick anyone in the entire world to buy our product, who would we want to sell to? Who is this solution designed for? And that's where we came up with the Pinterest Polly, who's a female. She's a big-time crafter, active on social media, hangs out on Pinterest and Facebook, learns on YouTube, probably teaches crafts. She has a small store on Etsy, or maybe she just prefers to make things around the house. She probably has pets, makes less than $100,000 a year, lives in the Midwest, is married, has grandchildren and kids, etc. Get as specific as possible. This will help you when it comes time to marketing. Let's move on to the competition. Now, the competition is pretty self-explanatory. It's anyone that's competing with you in your market, but it's also anyone that you can learn from. For example, we don't have any direct competitors because we invented this product. But shortly after we invented it, our Chinese manufacturer decided to copy our brand and create their own version. And that's because I didn't tell them what was in the formula. They couldn't figure it out. Anyways, the point is that we now have competition. And whether you have competition or not right now, you eventually will. And so it's time to talk about who your current competition is and who your future competition is. We do that for a couple of reasons, so that we can borrow from their techniques and see what's worked for them and what hasn't, so we can assess their keywords, their target market, what they're doing, how they're spending their ad spend and things like that. These are all things we can look at and analyze, by the way, if given to the right professional. And we want data. We want to learn as much as we possibly can. We have a competitive advantage, and we want to compound that competitive advantage by defining who our competitor is and figuring out how we can be better. Better. That's why you define your competitor. There's so much benefit to figuring out who your competitors are. Don't skip that step. Let's get into revenue streams. Revenue streams is very important because this is how investors are going to evaluate whether they think that your business is viable or not. I mean, at a first glance at least. They're going to look at how you are going to make revenue and what type of revenue you're going to make. For example, are you selling direct to consumers, D2C, or B2C, or are you selling directly to businesses, B2B? Or are you doing all of it, B2E, right? And there's so much you can do, so get specific here with your plan and exactly how you plan on rolling out your revenue streams. For example, Scorch Marker started on Amazon and Shopify. Then, once we started there, we rolled ourselves out into eBay, and then we got ourselves established on Etsy, and then we created a plan to get into wholesale, retail stores. And that's when we started to branch out and got accepted into Michael's and Hobby Lobby and Joann's and Home Shopping Network. But it all was in an orderly fashion so that we could go accomplish one step and then build on top of it with more revenue streams. Once you have more revenue streams in place, you're able to figure out which one's the best for you, which one works best with your company, and which one you're really gonna double down on. Now, one word for you guys that I wish I would have learned sooner: recurring revenue. Recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue is amazing. If you can figure out how to monetize through monthly recurring revenue, it's going to be worth more than if it was just one-time revenue. So if you have the ability to do monthly recurring, definitely do it. Next, let's go down to our marketing activities. So you can see here, we started out with organic presence on all social media, which isn't hard because you can repurpose content and whatnot. But I would start with YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. Get good at it, learn it, figure it out. Figure out how your company is going to present itself online and how you interact with your community. Are you going to be inspiring? Are you going to be educational? Are you going to be motivational? Are you going to be funny? How are you going to get people's attention? Once you've figured out what your marketing strategy is and what works for you organically, then you can start putting ad dollars behind it and boosting those already proven strategies. But don't leave anything out on the marketing activities and be as descriptive as you possibly can. Next, let's move down to our expenses. Expenses are often overlooked by a lot of people. They think, oh, I'm just going to start this eyelash business. It couldn't be too bad, but you got to have rent for a chair. You need insurance. You need to get the eyelashes. You need to get the glue. You need to find the clients, which means you need to set up a way to take payments, which means you need to get payment processing and a bank account. And there's just a lot that goes into it. So be as specific as you can, once again, with the expenses so that you know exactly how much you need in order to start. If you do a really, really good job on the expenses section of this, investors will be impressed. Banks will be impressed. Your family and friends will be impressed. The only person you'd be doing a disservice to by not filling this out to the best of your abilities is you. Now let's talk about teams and key roles. This is where you're going to talk about the team that's needed to make this business operate and run. Who do you need? What jobs are going to be available in this business? It's okay to have multiple jobs assigned to one person, but I want you to do a brain dump here and think about all the potential jobs you would need in key roles for this specific company. Write them all down. Write them all down. You can see just like we did here. Okay, let's move on to milestones. Milestones are your 1, 3, 5, possibly 10-year goals. Milestones are your roadmap, right? You can be as detailed or as general as you want here. Some people like to go quarters by quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and go in year chunks or quarter chunks, which I'm okay with. But in this case, we went real broad so we can show you a basic general idea of what milestones look like. Okay, set meaningful, tangible goals that your company can chase after. The more specific you are with your goal, the easier it is to work backwards and figure out what steps you need to take to get from point A to point B. For example, if we wanted to increase our revenue to $750,000 while expanding into retail space, I know that if we have a $30 average cart value, then we would need 750,000 divided by 30, which would give me about 25,000 customers or 25,000 purchases. You see what we did? We know where we want to go, and so we can work backwards. So now we know that if that is a 1-year goal, we can divide that by 12, and we can find out that we need to sell a little over 2,000 units or 2,000 orders per month to hit that goal. Setting milestones is incredibly powerful. Ownership. Ownership, this is where you describe who and what owns your company. Sometimes it's as simple as, Joe Smith owns 100% of blank LLC. It can be that simple. Sometimes it's complicated. For example, my holding company in Wyoming owns this particular LLC. This is where you get descriptive with the ownership. Any investors, anybody who's invested in this business, or anybody who's looking to give you funding is going to want to know how the company's owned. They want to know everything about it. And this is where you can get specific about the ownership of your company. Don't skip on this step because this data needs to match what's in your operating agreement in terms of ownership. Lastly, we have our exit strategies. Exit strategy is how you plan to remove yourself from this business because eventually you're not going to be able to work, you'll run out of time, or you'll die. So you need to figure out what's going to happen before those events take place. Are you going to build this company up to sell it off for a certain amount of money? Or are you going to build this company up and then pass it off to a management team so that it generates cash in the background for you while you do whatever the fuck you want? The days of building a company up and selling it quickly for a profit, I think are over. And that's really a tech scene thing. It's not an entrepreneur thing. I'd very much rather have recurring cash flow than one big payoff after 5 years of stress. Think about it. Everybody's different though, and it's up to you. You can see here in our exit strategy that Sarah and I plan to step away from the business, put a management team in place, and have this company generate cash for us in the background. So, these are the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to flesh out a well thought out business plan. You can take these questions and turn it into a longer form plan, or you can just keep it really simple like this, but it's a great place to start, and these are the things you want to be thinking about. If you like learning this type of stuff, and you especially like learning from me, check out my business school over at vaniter.com. Link's right here. Vaniter Business School was created to teach you all the steps that you need to take in order to build a solid business foundation. Not only the business plan, but also the LLC formation, the EIN, the bank accounts, quarterly taxes, write-offs, s-corps, how to save money on taxes, how to do things legally, how to get legal docs, NDAs, operating agreements, all of it. The business school is 50 videos. It's designed to take you from the idea to a fully functioning company ready to be built and run. It's super exciting. We have a ton of successful students, and I really think you'd like it. If you're watching this video, check it out. I think you might find a ton of value. If I missed anything, or if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I read every comment, I see everything, and it helps me make better videos. I hope you enjoyed. Keep educating, and be good to future you.